Well, welcome young men and young women in God's church here and around the world. Welcome to the Teen Bible Study. Let's jump right in. I want you to please open your Bibles to Proverbs 20. Proverbs 20. We'll get our fingers exercised. I don't do much turning, but I want to start off with this one. Proverbs 20 and verse 11. Verse 11 reads, "Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure or whether it be right." Notice, even a child. The actions we take, the doings that we take even as a child, help to establish our character, our attitudes, our feelings that carry us through the rest of our lives. With that in mind, I want to share a story with you. Remember, even as a child, it matters. I want to share a story about an unusual 11-year-old boy, a child. He was known for introducing himself by holding out his hand, looking you square in the eye, and saying, "Hi, my name's Luca. I'm glad to meet you." He was especially sure to do this if he saw another kid who was left out or reluctant to join in. If someone was standing over in the corner, he would make his way over to them and introduce himself in the same manner, the same fashion. Even a child. Luca was always ready to call out an encouraging, "Nice try," while playing his favorite sports, be it basketball, soccer, lacrosse, golf. One time, after a victory, he noticed a teammate being a poor winner. Luca told him, "Sometimes it's more important to win with class than to lose with class." During his time at camp, we've got camp coming up, so take this to heart. During his time at camp, Luca made sure to begin each morning talking to a young camper with special needs. And if this young camper set out an activity, whether it was one Luca was the best player or the needed team captain, didn't matter to Luca. Luca would join him. He would forego what he wanted to do to be with this other young camper. On another occasion, when Luca was with some friends at a playground, his father saw him step away from his buddies and go up to another young boy. His father quietly checked to make sure all was well. "Your friends are over there," his father said. "They're okay," Luca replied. "This kid was playing by himself, and I didn't want him to play by himself. I didn't want him to be alone." That's Luca. Young men and women, you face daily challenges that are unique to your generation. Challenges that come through modern technology, whether it's computers, smartphones, internet, social media. You can go on and on. You know more about that than I do. It's, again, your generation. Challenges that previous generations of young men and women never had to face. Your parents, maybe, grandparents, no. Beyond that, no. We didn't have the technology that you all have. That challenge. But there is one common challenge that every generation, no matter how far back you go, has faced. One that is still present today. One that, if left unchecked, is destructive. That is loneliness. Loneliness. The Oxford Dictionary defines loneliness as sadness because one has no friends or company. Notice that's how the world would define it. Sadness because one has no friends or company. Loneliness is a big problem today. It is. People feel lonely while in a crowd. People feel lonely while spending too much time on social media. The issue or the problem is not being alone. It's feeling alone. It's the feeling of loneliness. You may feel this way now. You may have felt this way in the past. You may know someone that is going through this right now. I'll reference this. Keep the story about Luca in your mind, because we'll circle back to it later on. So today we will look at ways to overcome loneliness. Something that, if left unchecked, is destructive. Something that everybody faces at some point in time. Ask yourself, did Luca ever feel alone? We'll let that kind of hang in the air. Did Luca ever feel alone? Didn't say in the story. We're going to go to the first way. The first means that we're going to look at, read about, to overcome loneliness. The first way is spending time with God. You might call it the narrow way. God's narrow way is the first way. It's the best way. It's the best way to defeat loneliness. The best way is to spend time with God. Even though you may be physically alone, by yourself, in a congregation of one, let's say, or just by yourself. The feeling of loneliness is replaced with true connectivity once we spend time with God, when we spend time with God, when we draw near to Him. He is our shepherd. He never leaves His sheep. He's near us whether we realize it or not. Again, you could be in a room by yourself. You could be in the middle of the ocean by yourself, and you're not alone. God is always with you. Turn to Psalms, please, 145. Psalms chapter 145. And verse 18. Psalms 145 and verse 18 states, "The Lord is near unto all them that call upon Him, to all that call upon Him in truth." Again, He is the shepherd. He is near. We call on Him, He draws even nearer to us. So what are some of the ways we can use to spend time with God, draw near to God? Well, we have prayer, we have Bible study, we have meditation, we have fasting. The Christian tools for Christian growth are right there. We're going to focus on two of them right now. Now, out of all the ways and the tools that I will mention, this is not an exhaustive list. Make your own, add to it. This would be much longer than a Bible study if we were to try to list, let alone explain. So let's start with prayer. How can prayer help us to overcome loneliness? Well, prayer is us speaking to our Father, us speaking to God. That's our time when we're spending time with our Father, asking Him, telling Him how our day went, what our needs are, what's on our mind. Our focus is off of us, what we may be going through, and it's focused on God. It's focused on our prayer, on our conversation with our Father. You might say, all right, well, you're in prayer. What can I pray for? What should I pray for to help out in overcoming loneliness? There isn't a magic bullet prayer, but I'll cover a few things here. It's you may have heard the church mention having a prayer card or a prayer list. You never know what's going to come up in the day that you may want to bring up to God in prayer. And instead of trying to remember it, if you note it down on a card, keep it with you, then you can have that for your prayers, be it the morning prayer or the evening prayer or any prayer throughout the day. It's a prayer list. You could add to that prayer list from the announcement bulletins. We have individuals around the world who send in prayer requests. Our Father wants us to pray for His people, not just for ourselves, but yes, for ourselves, but also pray for others. That's one way we know who is asking for God's prayers. Yes, they might be injured, they might be ill, they might be feeling alone. When we ask God, when we pray to our Father for them, He's drawing nearer to them as well through our prayers. And it will help them. It will also help us. First of all, if we are in a lonely state, we've just shifted our focus from self to someone else. It helps us change our attitude and build a better feeling, a feeling that is not one of isolation, one of loneliness. We've drawn near to our Father. Other aspects that we can use to ask God is asking for safety for the brethren. People around the world may be in line of a thunderstorm, a hurricane, a blizzard. They may be in a war zone. By going to our Father, putting our needs aside and thinking on the needs of others, it helps us come out of that loneliness, helps us to overcome our concerns of ourselves and put our concerns upon others. The variety of things you can pray about, obviously. Once again, this is not an exhaustive list. Camp coming up. You say, all right, well, ask God to say, Father, there are campers out there that are all by themselves. They're in a country. The campers aren't. They got their families. But this may be the only opportunity for them to come be a part of a larger group of God's people. Go to the Father. Ask Him. He can find a way. He can help them find a way and a means to make it to camp. Bible study, the other aspect we're going to touch on. As is prayer is us speaking to God, Bible study is us listening. Bible study is us, reading the Bible and hearing God's Word as either we read it aloud or listening to a sermon, watching one of our videos. Bible study. We're having a Bible study right now. We're going through using God's words, which helps us draw near to Him, which causes Him to draw near to us. And our focus on our daily concerns is at the very least set aside. If that is loneliness, then that's put on pause at the very least, if not removed, because we're drawing near to our Father, the shepherd, who never leaves his sheep. Let's go to the second way. Had the first way. It was drawing near to God, spending time with the Father, be it prayer, be it Bible study. We saw how that helps us defeat loneliness. The next way, simplify your lives. I referenced earlier, towards the beginning, you're a unique generation. You're a generation where technology exploded. By simplifying our lives, it means we limit the influences in our lives that increase the opportunity for loneliness. We can be so connected to the world that we're not working on what we most need. And we can be in a large crowd, in a full stadium, and feel, not be, we can feel lonely. You can be in a chat group with thousands and thousands of people connected, but you're not really connected. You can still feel lonely with that. So simplifying your lives is one way. I looked up and how loneliness, it says, loneliness is influenced by a combination of social, environmental, and personal factors, including limited social connections. All right, well, I'm connected, but you're not really connected. Technology uses, that's not because it's an under usage, but an over usage. Major life transitions, mental, physical, and health conditions. Some of the driving key factors here include insufficient time with family and overwork. But the key one here in this simplifying our lives that I'm going to touch on is that technology usage. It's not wrong. Technology itself is not wrong. The church uses technology. It's helped expand the work around the world. It's sped it up to a degree that previous generations couldn't have even dreamed of. But there is, can be a downfall. There can be aspects of that technology that, if we're not careful, it can bog us down. It can get our lives on the wrong track. Again, your generation is the technology generation. Many feel that digital connectivity means, all right, it means I have a good life, I have friends, I have happiness, I have success. But in reality, overuse of digital items to the point to where they encompass your entire life. Overuse complicates your life with a digital feedback, or you might call it a digital traffic jam. You're overwhelmed. But at the same time, you think, well, to get out of this, I have to connect more. I have to connect longer. That'll make it better. It's like a self-digging hole. You say, well, I'm in this hole, so I'm going to dig my way out. It just keeps getting deeper and deeper. There's a time when we have to say, wait a minute. We have to step back and look. What's the issue here? Because being connected, just connected digitally, a person could be sitting at home and completely, have a feeling of complete loneliness, but yet they might have 1 million likes on one of their social media pages. They might have hundreds of thousands of friends on another one, but yet still feel alone. Remember, it's a feeling. Loneliness is not determined by the crowd size. It's a feeling that we're not connected, that we are, there's something missing. Unless we are willing to make changes in our lives, that feeling won't change unless it just gets worse. You may be connected digitally, but disconnected from the physical world. So what can we do? What can you do? I'm just saying, it's all of us. That issue isn't just your generation. It rose up and is blossoming in your generation, but other generations, we use it. We have to make these same choices. One time is set time to just unplug, disconnect. The Sabbath is a wonderful time to do that. It's a wonderful time. Your phone, your computer, your TV, your tablet. Doesn't mean you have to on the Sabbath, but pick a time. Set a schedule. All right, during this period of time, I'm not going to have any digital items. One wonderful one is sitting around the dinner table. If you and, say, your entire family decide to do that, you might realize you're sitting with an interesting group of people. But you've been on your phones for so long, punching the button, getting a good callus on your finger, while you've got somebody right across the table who is eminently more interesting. Somebody who there has more care for you than any of the millions of likes or hundreds of thousands of quote-unquote digital friends. You've got one person, or mother and father, or brothers, sisters, cousins, grandparents. Disconnecting from the digital world helps you connect with others on a more personal basis. That will help drive out loneliness. Once again, it's not because of the numbers, it's that personal connection. You feel a part of something. Another way to declutter your life, simplify it, find a hobby. I'm talking about right now physical hobbies. I remember growing up, something that stuck with me for a long time, but it got to the point where I just didn't have time for other reasons, but it was something that I still enjoy doing. I just haven't had the time, the opportunity, is fishing. You might say, well, I've always wanted to learn that. What's stopping you? Well, I'm on the computer all day long. Okay, well, turn it off. Learn a hobby that is going to get your mind on something that is much more edifying. Something that's going to be more useful to you as a young man and woman, in God's church, living in this world. Seeking likes and digital friends, it's not going to help. Getting out and expanding your own abilities. Physical hobbies. Like I said, I mentioned fishing. You might say, well, I've always wanted to learn piano. What's stopping you? Set your mind to do something, and then your mind won't be focused on any loneliness or anything leading up to that would lead you down that path, that way of loneliness. Another kind of hobbies, but let's look at more of the not the physical, but let's say the mental hobbies. Pick a book up and read. Spend time reading with a hard copy book as opposed to constantly scrolling on your phone. That will simplify your life. Just an example. You say, well, I used to like to write letters back before the internet. I know y'all can't say that. You've probably always had the internet. I can say that. I never really was a good letter writer, but you might say, well, I've always wanted to do that. What's stopping you? Don't let the clutter of this world's technologies slow you down. Keep you bogged down in that digital traffic jam that will lead to a lonely feeling. You go on and on and on with these. But there's, Once again, what's stopping you? Why not now? Turn to Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 9. Setting your mind on a goal, creating a new hobby. Say, I'm going to declutter my life by disconnecting on this and reconnecting on something that is positive, that brings a positive outcome, that occupies my time to a point where I don't even have the opportunity to think about feeling lonely. Ecclesiastes 9:10. When you decide to do something, create a hobby, or just make that change, whatsoever your hands find to do, do it with your might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave where you go. What that's referencing is, don't put off till tomorrow what you want or need to do today. Well, I want to do this. I want to make a change in my life. I want to come out of loneliness. Set your heart to do it. Set your mind to do it. And just do it. You will reap incredible benefits of joy in your life, because once again, you're taking any handhold, any seat, any standing place for loneliness to occupy in your life, because you filled it with something that is much more valuable. Your mind is focused on things that will benefit you and benefit others. When our minds are both occupied and challenged, there's no room for loneliness. Once again, you could be in a room by yourself or in a room of 10,000 people. It's not the numbers, it's how we feel. Keeping our hands, our mind, our hearts busy, occupied, challenged. Once we stop challenging ourselves, loneliness is, oh, wait a minute, I think I just heard a dinner bell. I'm coming that way. Stay challenged. That makes you a better person. You may be connected with someone else or with their own interest by stepping out and learning a hobby. You might, somebody in the church, another one of the youth, let's say at camp, you see a camper that says, well, one of my favorite things is to play guitar. Like, I've always wanted to do that. Can you help me learn? Well, you just made a positive connection to where that might have brought you out of a state that you were already in, a lonely state, feeling that way, and it may be something that they may have been feeling lonely too, and because you stepped forward and said, can you help me learn? Oh, you want to learn? Sure, let's go spend some time together. You build a friendship, you build a new hobby, you build a new skill. Either way, you give no room, you give no quarter for loneliness, for that feeling to even take root. Don't ever think that once you've overcome a lonely feeling, that it's gone forever. It can come back just as quick as it fled. We have to stay on our toes. Keep your lives simple. Pick a time to say, all right, I'm going to, dinner time, every time we sit down, I'm going to disconnect. I'm not saying do it right then, but pick what fits you best. We have to be connected in some ways. Our jobs, connected because the church communicates via the internet. It's not a bad thing, but it's something that if used, that encompasses the entirety of our life, it can lead us down that lonely road. Again, loneliness is a feeling that is not dependent upon numbers. It is a feeling. Remember that. It's a feeling. How do you feel? How do you feel? Harken back to Luca. Was there something about Luca that fit into that, simplifying his life, making a connection? Keep that in mind. Like I said, I'm going to circle back, and we'll discuss it a little bit more later. We went through the two first ways that we're going to talk about: drawing near to God, staying near to God, and simplifying your life. 2 ways so far to come out of loneliness, to make loneliness itself lonely. That ought to be our goal. We're going to make loneliness, that feeling, lonely in and of itself, that it doesn't know what to do. It's not a being, mind you. I'm just saying, make it where it has no place. The third way, outgoing concern. You may use, I'm going to use a term that the church has used, the give way. And having outgoing concern is the give way. Outgoing concern is a selfless, action-oriented form of love that prioritizes the welfare, needs, and happiness of others over one's own self-interest. It involves serving or giving to others without expecting any credit, any payment, or any recognition. Effectively acting as the opposite of selfishness, basically being selflessness. You are not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about others. That's your focus. You're focused on giving. Putting the thoughts and needs and feelings of others ahead of your own. Yes, we have our needs. We have to make sure we take care of our needs. But can we, while we're taking care of ours, also help somebody else with some outgoing concern in a give way? Maybe. Every situation can differ. It's a decision we have to be ready to make and aware that, yes, we had the authority to make that decision. Is, can I give? Can I help? Can I have outgoing concern beyond just I don't care about anything else but me? No. Outgoing concern. It helps to overcome. We're thinking about others. We're not thinking about our problems right there. So it helps us to overcome that feeling of loneliness that we may have. Outgoing concern, flip it around. If someone has outgoing concern for you and you feel lonely, what's that going to make you feel? Wow, somebody's thinking about me. Somebody is trying to help me. You're going to feel good. Brother, it feels good to do good. It feels good to do good. And loneliness does not feel good. So when you're doing good works, having outgoing concern, it's extremely difficult, I'm not going to say impossible, extremely difficult to have a lonely feeling. To feel, when you're lonely, you also are in a depressed state. And if you're in a depressed state, it's nearly impossible to go out and be outgoing, have outgoing concern, willing to step out of your comfort zone for someone else if you're in a depressed or lonely, feeling state. Turn to Philippians chapter 2. Turn to Philippians chapter 2, and we'll begin in verse 3. Philippians 2 and verse 3 reads, Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind let each esteem other better than themselves. Verse 4, look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. It's exactly what we were talking about. With a lowly mindset, meaning humble, in a selfless mindset, esteem others better. Look for the good things in them and tell them about it. That might bring just a simple comment, might bring somebody out of a depressed state, or move them to start coming out of a depressed or lonely state. When we're looking on the things, look not every man on his own things. That's your own concerns, your own interests. It's saying here, look first on the needs, on the interests of others. Others needing more than you have. Others more than you need. Look on them, find ways to give that outgoing concern, living the give way, to help them have a better life, have a more pleasing life. And when we do, it builds up our attitude, builds up a resistance to loneliness within ourselves, and it helps them. All these different ways and the points that I'm talking about can go both ways, bringing ourselves out of loneliness and helping somebody else come out of loneliness. In many cases, they can happen at the same time. With this way, all right, I want to feel good, so I'm going to do good. So I'm going to step out, and I'm going to help somebody that I see, somebody in the congregation that I know they're having a hard time. They haven't been able to mow their yard because they've been sick. So I'm going to step out and I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to come mow your yard for you. They're like, you're going to mow my yard for me? You just perked them right up. And their, appreciation will perk you up. And it's almost a perpetual machine. Their joy can bring you joy, which will bring them more joy, which will bring you more joy, and loneliness is gone. That feeling of loneliness is gone simply because of some outgoing concern, the giveaway. It can go both ways. Your loneliness can be worked on at the same time that someone else's can. So we'll ask a quick question. How does this outgoing concern truly defeat loneliness? The Mayo Clinic Health System wrote the following: outgoing or outward concern or attention holds many benefits. And I just listed a few here. It says some of the benefits of outward concern are improved mood and happiness. The giver, and it will also affect the receiver in the same way. Reduce stress and anxiety. When we are doing good, it feels good. So it reduces our stress, reduces our anxiety. What about the one receiving? Person like, the city had given me a notice, I had to mow the yard, or it's going to cost hundreds of dollars, but I'm sick, I couldn't do it, my lawnmower broke. And you just stepped out with some outgoing concern. Their anxiety just melted away. A lonely feeling like, I'm all alone, I can't get this done, is gone because problem solved. It's helped you, it's helped them. Another one of the benefits is increased self-esteem. It's not pride, but self-esteem. And, wow, I didn't realize that I could actually do that. I didn't realize how good I feel from doing that. I'm going to do it again. It also combats depression. Depression is an effect of loneliness. This is all about doing outward work, outward concern. The give way helps both you and helps the giver and the receiver overcome loneliness. It's pretty simple. Infinite ways to give. Looking back at Luca, what was something he gave? What was something that he gave that helped others and most certainly ended up helping him? What did he give? What kind of outgoing concern did Luca maybe give? Another point in the outgoing concern is service. A type of outgoing concern that we can give is service. Service is action-oriented. Remember the statement I read earlier. Outgoing concern is a selfless, action-oriented form of love. Well, service is action-oriented. If you're serving, you're acting. You're doing. You're staying busy. Your hands are not idle. They're out doing. And they're doing for others. Turn to John, chapter 15. John chapter 15. We will begin in verse 9. Chapter 15 and begin in verse 9. And it reads, Christ talking, "As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Continue in my love. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. This is my commandment," verse 12, "that you love one another as I have loved you." We've all heard those scriptures read. The theme through that is love. That word love is agape. It is the love of God. It's defined as, love, affection. It's also defined as benevolence. Benevolence is desire to do good, selflessness. You're doing something, you're serving, not for your own glory, you're serving for someone's need. And throughout this, Christ said the Father was benevolent. He said he himself was benevolent. He tells us to be benevolent, have outgoing concern, that give way, willing to step up, forego, I really was wanting to go online and spend 2 hours doing absolutely nothing but clicking a button, or I can go and help one of the brethren in the congregation with something that they need. There is no choice. That benevolence is something that Christ does, the Father does. Should that be something we do? It's a rhetorical question. Yes, it is. You are young men and young women who are strong, full of energy, full of life. What actions of service can you do to overcome feelings of loneliness? Ask yourself this. Make it personal. Don't just say, I'm only going to do the things that Mr. Fabian mentioned. No. You've got your own minds. You've got your own lives you live. You see things that I don't see. I see things that you don't see. I see people needing certain things. You see other people needing certain things. Brethren, family members. What actions of service can, or better yet, what actions of service will you do to help them, and in the process maybe help you overcome a feeling of loneliness? Make it personal. Don't say, that's for somebody else somewhere else. No, that's for me sitting in this seat in my life. Reference Luca again. What did Luca do? Did he recognize a needed service? Did he have actions of service? We'll cover that in a minute. I told you I'm going to circle back through. One way, some service ideas, is not exhaustive, at your family. You know what your different needs are around your household. Cleaning, cooking, if you've got a pet, walking the pet, cleaning up after the pet, yard work, cleaning your rooms, making your beds, doing the dishes. Those are actions. Those are services. If you've ever had a pile of dishes, just huge pile, and you walk and you say, oh, I've got to do this. You're not grinning your teeth, yay, I get to do dishes. No, you're not. You don't have that feeling. You got a feeling that can depress you, can make you feel, oh, where'd everybody go? They love the food, but they left me all the dishes. What's that individual going to think when you come walking in the kitchen, rolling up your sleeves and said, let's get it done? Really? That depression just disappeared. That feeling of, I was all alone to do this. I was feeling lonely, overwhelmed. No more. You just stepped up. Schoolwork. We've got responsibilities. You might have a classmate sitting next to you in your class in a certain subject that struggles, that you do well in. You might say, all right, do you need some help? I'm not going to do your work for you, but if you want some help, I'll help you. Might even help you study. Trust me, when you help somebody else study, it benefits you as much as it does them. That was how I studied throughout high school, was I helped other people study. I never had to take a book home. Not that I didn't. If I hadn't done that, I certainly would have needed to. But I was helping them, and it made me feel good. When someone says, well, no, I don't need you to help me for this test, I almost feel, really? Please? You wanted to help them. Think of the Sabbath. What's there to do on the, nothing to do when you walk into the Sabbath hall. It's all done. No, there's some work just to get it prepared. There's some work to change the tables around. There's work in the kitchen. There's work everywhere. Even if you're not tapped to say, well, I'm not in on any committees, that doesn't keep you from going up and say, can I give you a hand? Let me serve. It's going to make me feel better. They're like, really? We could really use another hand. Made one or more of your spiritual family feel better. Giving no room, giving no quarter for loneliness to root itself in. Through outgoing services. Camp. First camp a few times. What can you do to serve others at camp? That's one. What did Luca do at camp to serve others? What can you do? What have you done? I've heard stories over the years that are wonderful stories. When a new camper comes, shy, they don't know what they're doing, they're scared, they're all by themselves, them and their family. The only time they get to see people is at the Feast of Tabernacles, because there's so many, hundreds and hundreds of miles off the North Pole, let's say. But they made it to camp, and they don't know what to do. What can you do? What are you going to do? Either as campers, as coordinators, or as counselors. What can you do to help make their camp the best camp ever? I remember a little boy. I got to help at camp one year. And They used to have, they might still do, they had dance cards. He had to fill the dance cards. He filled his dance card, then he come over to me, he said, it's his first year at camp. Said he never danced before in his life. Filled his dance card. He came up and he said, I filled my dance card. I said, well, that's wonderful. He said, can I keep dancing? I said, I love it. I've never done it before, but I said, sure. So he was going out and asking the different ladies, the young ladies, to dance. Made him feel good, made them feel good. They had no cares of loneliness. They were out serving. He was finding a way to serve as a first-time camper. Turn to Proverbs 14, please. Proverbs 14. Proverbs 14 and verse 23. Talked about, this outgoing concern, this giveaway is actions. It's actions of service. It's doing. It takes work. Proverbs 14 verse 23 states, in all labor there is profit, but the talk of the lips tends only to penury, or to becoming poor. In all labor, you can say in all actions of service there is profit. Well, what's some profit of service that helps us overcome loneliness, that feeling? Serving others boosts emotional well-being by releasing feel-good chemicals known as dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, which foster happiness, reduces stress, combats depression, enhances self-esteem, provides a sense of purpose. Oh, here's one. Reduces loneliness and builds resistance against life's challenges. Service. Service is a wonderful tool to combat existing loneliness and to build a wall to keep it out. Prevent it from maybe ever coming or coming back. That's what service can do. Now there's a fourth way. Like I said, we talked about drawing near to God, staying near to God. Talked about simplifying our lives. And we talked about outgoing concern, that service. The fourth way, finding balance. Finding balance. Finding balance in the time we spend with God. Finding balance in simplifying our lives. Finding balance in the outgoing concern, that selfless, action-oriented aspect. All of those ways to overcome loneliness. But we have to balance them. Balance is vital for a good physical and emotional health. Too much of any one creates an imbalance. Let me give you some examples. I've heard individuals tell me on the phone, calling up the church and said, I spend every waking moment in Bible study. I'm retired, I wake up, I study the Bible 10 to 12 hours a day, every day. Sounds like a wonderful thing. But is it? Is that balanced? Turn to James 1. James 1. Is spending every waking moment drawing near to God, can that be wrong? It's not wrong to draw near to God. James 1 verse 22 states, be you doers of the word and not just hearers only. If you're spending all your available time studying, when are you doing? When are you out doing, putting what you're learning into action? If you're just reading, you're learning. But if you don't see what you're reading, how it applies to your life, loneliness can creep back in. You can't be as big of support and help to others if you're not out there putting God's words into action with your outgoing concern. I know all about this topic. I know it up and down. I just don't know how to do it because I've never done it. So there has to be balance even in studying God's Word. Outgoing service. Somebody says, well, I spend every waking moment outside of my own job, going out and just serving people. Once again, doesn't that sound great? I go up down the street, mowing all the neighbors' yards for free, raking their leaves, walking their dogs, fixing broken porches. That's what I do. It makes me feel good. I'm sure it does make you feel good. It should. Doing good feels good. I might ask, when's the time for your Bible study? You're out doing, but are you doing everything you should be doing? Without the Bible study, you may be missing out. Maybe you are missing out. Because there's that imbalance. The simplifying aspect of your life, if you said, all right, I'm just going to totally disconnect from all technologies whatsoever, because I know that they can lead me down the wrong path, and they're eating up all of my free time, so I'm not going to do any of them. We mentioned earlier that technology itself is not bad. It's how it's used. That's how the church communicates. It can send one email out to the whole church as opposed to one email per everyone in the church. It speeds up the work. If they're not connected to some degree, they're not going to get the information from the church at least as quick as they could. They're not going to use the different tools that are online to help with their Bible study, to help look up ways to serve people. They've oversimplified their lives to a point to where it can be a hazard, a danger that would let loneliness creep back in. Because now they don't know what's going on in the world. That people have no means to communicate with them. They can't communicate to others. They can't reach out and say, hey, it's nice talking to you. I haven't seen you in a while. If you're disconnected, you can't even make a phone call. A balanced life improves emotional health by fostering greater resilience to stress, enhancing self-awareness, and promoting lasting happiness through better, stronger relationships. It reduces anxiety, prevents burnout, increases positive emotions like gratitude, and leading to better overall mental stability. Balance. Our lives must be in balance. If it's out of balance, what's going to fill that other void, that other side? Maybe loneliness. We're not using all the tools in our toolbox. I'm just mentioning a few of the tools, the ways. Look at them as tools that you can keep in your toolbox. So, I said we would circle back to Luca, the different points that I brought up. Now, it doesn't mention this in the story, but we can speculate. Was Luca ever lonely? Was Luca ever lonely? Might he have been at one time that kid who was left out or reluctant to join in, and somebody else came over to him, introduced themselves to him. And that inspired him, brought him out of loneliness to help others come out of loneliness. Was Luca at one time maybe on the other end of a poor winner? He said, no. I know the feeling. I know how that makes me feel. So, Luca. How did Luca feel? Brethren, you now have some tools in your toolbox to overcome loneliness. Find your own tools. Add to your toolbox. What works best for you may not work well for others. Loneliness is not from God. Its author is Satan. Like a roaring lion that never quits, loneliness will come knocking again. So keep your tools maintained, well used, and at the ready, and loneliness will be overcome.